Indy housing market. Get the latest insights right here.
Welcome back to Indy Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
And I'm Shelly Walters with Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker.
And today we have our good friend Andy Rudolph, and it's just kind of a weird moment because I would want to be like, introduce yourself. But do I have you introduce yourself under your old title or your new title? I think we should do both.
I was about
Let's do the new title.
We'll do the official stuff.
Okay,
I am the Vice President of Franchise Operations for the FC Tucker Company.
Okay.
Yay!
Yeah. So that is my current title. Coming up in January, however, we can add to that. So I am the Regional Vice President of Residential Services, I think is the official
Can we
title.
turn that into an acronym?
I know it would be a lot easier for
What
me
is
to
that?
say.
Rizville?
I know there's a lot of R's and S's.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
Well,
for having me.
congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yes, congratulations. Awesome for you
I'm
to be
super
part
excited about it. For me, as somebody who is a part of FC Tucker, to me, it's a big part of just like the direction of our company. We have such an amazing history here, and everything that Fred Tucker has done, and Bud Tucker and Jim Litton and Pat and Donna, and for us to have this continued direction of where this company is going, with you as well as our current manager Angel Dean, who's also doing it with you as well. And to me, it really kind of I think that's always kind of we've talked about this a little bit, that was always hey, what's going to happen?
That's what the whole industry's probably been waiting to see.
Yeah.
Now you answered.
Now we know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just really good, I think, and I don't know, it's just a lot of really good energy.
I'm proud to carry on that legacy. Like you said, we have some fantastic leadership, and we have since the inception of the company,
Yeah.
right? And it's very humbling to be asked to be part of that leadership team in whatever capacity that it happens to be. And so we have a little bit of time between now and January so that I can figure out what that is gonna look like.
Oh, you're going to be fabulous.
For the
You're gonna be
company,
fabulous.
it really meant making sure that all of our agents knew that we were there to help support them, that we're going to be there to help support them into the future, that there isn't some boogeyman around the corner that's going to come in and make things different than what they were. We want to stay growing, however, right? We want to continue to evolve because that's how you stay in business. The Jim Litton's famous line, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? Is in the front of my mind almost every morning, thinking about what we can do best to be able to support all the agents that we have across the entirety of the state of Indiana and Kentucky.
And when you're the
What's that number?
size,
Let's tell everybody the number.
Yeah, so we have 1,800 agents total, counting all of our metro offices, the company-owned offices here in central Indiana, as well as all of our franchise operations. And they go all the way from Fort Wayne and Valparaiso, all the way down to Evansville and Henderson, Kentucky, and then down to Lexington, Kentucky as well. So we've got quite the footprint, but we also have this wonderful army of nearly 9% of all agents in the state of Indiana have a Tucker T on their shirt.
Wow.
Showing up at closings. And to show a little bit about it, we looked at some stats last year. It was as much as 10% of all transactions have a Tucker agent sitting at the table with their client at all the residential transactions around. So
Well, I will say that happens to me too. I work with a lot more Tucker agents than I do any other agents on all of my transactions.
just statistically
Yeah.
speaking,
Yeah.
that's going to happen. But we're really proud of it. We partner up with great like-minded brokers across the state in our franchise footprint, as well as the kind of culture that we built inside of central Indiana with our metro offices. So happy to keep that turning along for the next.
well, when you're that size, you need, it's just a lot to oversee it, and then on top of that grow. I'm a team lead myself, and just I work as a real estate agent, and I clock in as a CEO, and I clock out as an agent, right? And so to be able to do that, and we need more people. We already have this massive market share, and we will reach a bandwidth capacity, right? A problem where we cannot do enough, and we need more people to help oversee that.
We have outstanding managers in all
Oh
of
my
our
gosh,
offices.
yeah.
I mean, we've got the strongest management team. I would put them up against any other broker in the state. We have really great at that, but we run really lean whenever it comes to straight leadership, right?
Yeah.
Jim, Pat, and Donna have done a fantastic job, but they're also three just human beings.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to make it to all the things that they need to make it to. And one of the advantages to this arrangement is that we're going to go from 3 to 5 on that leadership team, and that's going to give us more ability to be able to one-on-one engage with either the managers themselves or the agents, and really bring the best level of service that we can to them, what they deserve.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting for you because you've already helped oversee a lot of growth, right? Like when we bring on a franchise, like you're the one there. You're the direct
boots on the ground. When we did the inclusion of the Lafayette office, which was our franchise office, we also partnered up with the Shooks in Lafayette and brought them underneath the umbrella as well. And I was there to help oversee a lot of that kind of stuff. Most of it is the wonderful staff that we have. They're the magic, right? That really brings it along. But you can act as the point person to make sure that those inbound agents really feel the love, know exactly what it is that we're bringing to the table for them. And I'm proud of that one in particular here in the last year has been really strong.
Well, I think too, like that's your background, right? So like you came out, and I actually don't know this. It's kind of an interesting question. I mean, you come in from Evansville as part of a franchise from Tucker, but I don't know if it became Tucker and was something else prior to, or if like it was already Tucker when you went there.
I'm second generation in this business. My dad was a realtor, and I grew up in it. And the one thing I knew growing up that I didn't want to do was go be a realtor.
That's what my son said, and he went into real estate. Absolutely refused to have any.
My kids want to, and I'm like, you have no idea what this is.
Well, I remember him putting on his 3-piece suit every Sunday. We'd go to church, and then the next thing you know, he would just disappear and go off into the ether and go to work. And I thought, well, that sounds awful. So I'm actually a recovering engineer. My trade. I was a Purdue graduate. I worked, did your boiler up.
I'm biting my tongue here. I'm outnumbered.
That's fair. That's fair. Very proud Purdue graduate, but I had a degree in engineering, and I did audio video systems design. So before we all carried around a full video conference set in our pocket, in our phone, I designed those professionally. So I did my internship with Walt Disney Imagineering. So I did theme park ride design for about 4 months between my junior and senior year.
You did theme park ride design?
Yeah, if you ever rode the rock and roll roller coaster down in at Disney World, I helped design the onboard audio for the rock and roll roller coaster in a very
onboard audio. What would that
be? More than I did. I mean, that's amazing.
In that roller coaster, it plays Aerosmith in your ears the whole time you're going around. And so
did you choose that?
I did not. I missed meeting Aerosmith by a couple of weeks because they came in to record their part all right before that I got there. But no, my job was to test out audio amplifiers that are just regular car audio amplifiers like you'd have in your car, but we needed them to be able to support G-forces. So we had because the ride flips over and does corkscrews.
You got some alpines in there. You remember
we tested all of them.
So you're like, were you an audiophile?
I was a little bit of an audiophile.
So did you used to get Kirkwood or whatever and like order? Isn't that what it was? It was not Kirkwood, but Kenwood.
And you'd have to pop the faceplate off
the
radio.
What was the name of the magazine you could order like Clarion out of? And you remember what I'm talking about? I can't remember the name of it.
I remember what you're talking about, but I can't remember it.
Oh, dude, because I used to have subs and all. You know what I mean?
So I did that work for a while. I went out and moved to Boston. It wasn't the right place for me. I wasn't happy sitting behind a desk and working in AutoCAD all the time. I wasn't a natural born engineer. I've got that engineering mind, but I also like to talk to people. So I came back home.
That is a huge difference. Those are two very
distinct
opposite.
And so whenever I quit that, I went home and I was bartending actually at a local pizza joint. And my dad said, "Hey, I'm working on this flip house over here. If you go get your real estate license, I'll give you the commission on it. Plus, I'll sell it to you at cost." So that was how I bought my first house.
Man, that's a good dad right there.
And he was very good.
He's looking for deals. Let me get my son.
But he also knew exactly what he was doing, because the next thing you know, in a blink of an eye, I'd been in the business for 20 plus years. I really enjoy what it is that I do. But I went to work for his independent real estate firm. Worked there with him for 4 or 5 years, then took over the reins and ran that brokerage for a few years.
What was it called?
Tri-County Realty. And my dad's joke was always, well, what 3 counties are in Tri-County? He'd say Posey, Vanderburgh, and wherever your house is at. But I loved it. We worked independently as a brokerage for the longest time, and then I had the opportunity. One day the printer broke, and I was tired of trying to print out the the payroll for my one non-1099 employee that I had to take to the accountant and do. That day, I picked up the phone. I'd always had admiration for our local Tucker franchise there in Evansville and loved the people that work there. So I called up the owners and just said, hey, I think it's time. It's time to put together a merger. So I merged in, then became the manager of their downtown Evansville office for some years. And then the opportunity came up. I had been in sales. I had done things volunteer with my local association. I had been in line and was currently serving as the president of the state association in 2022.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure.
And the opportunity to expand my role here with the Tucker Company specifically and take over the franchising operations came up. So I've now been doing that for the last 3 years. Really love it. Love all of our wonderful partners all across the state. We've got really the best of the best out there to meet up with. So I did that for 3 years, and then in January is a whole new adventure that I'm honored to be part of too. So it's been a winding road. I always tell people I'm kind of the Forrest Gump of real estate. Yeah. I've done new home development. I've done subdivision development, flip houses. Kind of anything that the market threw my way, I'd always try to figure out.
So how many years do you have in?
I'm celebrating my 25th year here this year. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You started young then.
I did start relatively young. I had a couple of years outside of college, but I'm older than you think I am. So we'll leave it at that. Aspect of where it is. So
I'm older than you think I am.
There's plenty of gray hairs peppered in throughout that beard. So
I have more than you.
Tell us about your IAR presidency and everything, because you told us a little bit before we started. So
yeah, I was encouraged by my then managing broker down at FC Tucker Imke in Evansville, Kevin Eastridge, who was a past president for IAR as well. He said, "Hey, I really think you've got what would be a good servant heart to give back to the community. I think you should take a serious consideration of this." I did the Indiana Realtor Leadership Academy, and I think that really spurred me on. I did that all the way back in I think 2012, and then that journey I kind of set my sights on volunteer leadership and things at the state association at that point. So it just took a little while to get to to get into that pipeline and show that I cared and get myself ready for it. But got a chance to serve both through that kind of COVID years as treasurer and president-elect, and then fully as the incoming president for 2022. Loved it. While I was doing that, I was kind of traveling around the state already. So when I met up with Jim, Pat, and Donna, and we were talking about this vacancy that they had in the franchise operations world, they said, "Well, you've proven that you can travel around. That's not a problem." So I just kind of kept on the road whenever I was done with that.
It's interesting. So I think that's probably about the time I started to meet you and get to know you, is right around when you were president, right? And then, I think a lot of people look at Indy. Okay, this is going to sound really, I'm going to say this incorrectly. I think we locally think that Indy is the real estate hub. I just think that's our arrogance. I think that's our ignorance. I think that's us being a little bit small world here, which is understandable because there's a ton that goes on here, right?
And in some ways, it is. It's the largest capital,
correct,
the largest market. So it is a little bit in that controller seat, but there's so much more to Indiana real estate.
So think about it. As you were talking about that, most of our past presidents within recent years are from Southern Indiana for IAR, right? I think Aaron is right now, correct?
And to be president,
he's Evansville, and then 2 years ago was Evansville also, wasn't he? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Not the gal, but before that, right?
We've had quite a few. We've actually spread it out quite a bit. The one thing that I like about going to the state association level is that we have so many great friends and bonds that you make from all over, that I've got people that I can call in Northwest Indiana or Southeast Indiana and find all of these great wealths of knowledge in real estate. And we open our eyes, to your point earlier, there is more than what you see in your local market that is going on out there. And then so being able to be aware of that, be cognizant of that as a choice, really opens your eyes to the greater real estate world. And that's really what going into any of that volunteer leadership opened my eyes too, because there is so much different that we do inside the state from one side to the other side of that same
we
state.
were talking about that in regards to wanting to have a statewide MLS and the pros and cons. So you were talking the difference. I know when I was selling at Sweetwater and Cordery, how different it was just to be in Brown County and how they functioned. And it started to change over as I worked down there more and more. But when I would have somebody come from Evansville to write an offer for that out of our area, I've always been under the mindset, don't work where you don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel that's important. But they were always 30-day post-possession, and I was like, no, we don't do that here. Like I was talking to somebody in Texas, but they literally are just 2 hours south of me. So that was very interesting to find out.
Yeah, it's wild how local traditions have built themselves in all of these different communities, right, around the state. And I was saying before we started recording, I recently bought a condo as a second property, so I have a place to stay. I was getting a little tired of hotels, so got a condo here in the Indianapolis area, but I even used a local agent to help look over my contract on my own transaction, because there's so much that is different about the way things function, right? It's great that we have statewide forms, and it's great that we have a statewide real estate license that allows us to practice in all these different areas, and that we have the tool that we need to be able to practice in those areas. But whether or not you really should be practicing in those areas is very different.
Because like you said, it's a difference of a checkbox.
I check one box on taxes the way I would do it back home in southern Indiana, and whenever I come to the new home up here in Indianapolis, if I didn't check that other box, I would have left $5,000 to $6,000 of negotiation on the table.
But they do that in Evansville, so that's fine down there.
That
but
is
up
the way it
here,
prints.
we do it differently.
I even think listing and buying is different. So like I would be more comfortable listing a property as long as I was a member of their MLS, right? Way more so than purchasing. If that makes sense, because a listing is pretty much a listing is a listing, right? But you need to know
when you're looking at comps from the buyer side of things,
that matter.
How that really impacts it, and there is a lot more difficulty in that side.
There is,
and we all also have
because
to
neighborhoods matter.
Yep, neighborhoods matter.
Trends matter.
Trends matter. Local traditions matter.
Yep.
All of these things gonna go into what it is, and whenever you're holding yourself out there as an expert in that field, right, in that area, it takes a lot more than just being a member of the MLS to be able to have a lot of that information.
You better have done research.
That is so true, though, just in general. Like, if you're selling wherever you're selling, you need to be an expert.
Yeah.
You need to be an expert, not just, because you are playing with somebody's major financial decision.
Well, that's why we spend so much, like I spend time in the numbers and the data, and I go all over the place because like I need to be, right? But I do know agents who they only sell in Carmel. And like for me, like I live in McCordsville, like I travel all over the greater metro area, but yeah, like I start getting into other areas. Like I've had to become an expert in certain areas, but outside of those areas, I'm not. Like we do a lot in Kokomo, so we've become very well educated on the Kokomo market, right? But like you start sending me to Logansport,
it becomes a different
totally different thing. Like I don't have the experience yet. I would have to spend a couple months knowing I was going to do that to like actually dive into that market. And most agents just won't do that. Or they don't either have the time, they don't have the want, or they don't have the knowledge of where to get the resources to educate themselves.
And I understand it from an agent standpoint. You just had a fantastic sale with somebody in Carmel.
Yeah.
Right? And they're moving to Valparaiso.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, can you help us up there? Because we really, really like you, right? But it's probably not in that client's best interest for you to go do that without
in my opinion, not
other
at all.
portion of the stuff. And we're bound by the Code of Ethics. The NAR Code of Ethics, and part of that Code of Ethics says you will be competent in the area in which you practice. And so I think a lot of agents start to go, but what is it that they can do other than just telling the client, well, no, I don't work in Valparaiso. No, there's such a great wealth of wonderful agents that are out there, and because we have such a large geographic footprint and agent count footprint at FC Tucker, we have the ability to be able to partner you up with a like-kind broker that will work with you. And we always think of outbound referrals as, well, I'm going to give them a name of an agent up there and I'm going to send it off, and this is the formula that I use. The reality is those are far more complex scenarios, and there's a lot more ways that you can stay in touch with your current client who is going to Valparaiso. or going to buy a house in Crown Point, or going to buy a house in Newburgh, that you can say, hey, I've got a partner that I'm willing to work with on there. You're still going to be in contact with me. I'm going to help guide you throughout that scenario, but we found you a local expert that can help you with boots on the ground.
When we do that, we actually, when we send a referral out like that, we actually interview agents.
Yeah.
I love that
And
idea.
I do
think
the
that's
same
fantastic.
thing. I tell my clients who are moving out of state, like, do you have an agent? And I always ask that, do you have an agent out there? And they're like, no, I have no idea. And I'm like, okay, I would like to ask you permission to go and interview for you. I said, you probably don't know the answer to, or the questions or the answers you need from your agent. So I do the same thing. I interview 3 to 5 agents wherever they're heading and ask what I want them to be like me, right? I want them to know what they're gonna do. So I drill the agents and I find what I think is the best one for them too, if I'm not going through the referral network, but
those were always my favorite inbound referrals that would come in, where it would come directly from the agent and they would want to set up time to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because then I'd be wringing my hands. I'd be like, I know exactly what to say to get this deal to land. And when you take the time as the outbound referring agent, when you take that time, you'll also get a much higher percentage of those that actually succeed.
Yes.
So,
yeah, they can actually find the house for your client, right? I mean, that is important.
Sure.
If you've just had a relationship at all with them, of buying, selling, or not at all, just a referral of any kind, that's what you want. You want it to be a very good process for them.
Right.
Find what they're looking for. And you don't, I say to them, I don't want you going and throwing a dart at the phone book, which is what a lot of people would do. They just get somebody and then you find out that things
Well,
went
for
bad.
me, like I'm dealing with one right now. I gotta go sit down with them on Thursday, and they're going to Terre Haute, and yeah, and they called me and they were like, hey, we want you to come sell our house. Like I sold them the house, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, and they're moving out to go be with their daughter. And I'm glad it all worked out because, you know, they're under contract and everything. I was like, I could have helped find an agent for you. And they found an agent who's like in the neighborhood, knows the neighborhood really well. Like it all worked out really well.
But
like,
you would have loved to have been able to do that, because that's the service kind of thing of what it is we do as a living.
correct. I want to make sure, like, you know, I'm about to go put your house on the market. I need to make sure that deal of where we're going does not fall apart. And I need to have some sense of confidence in that, you know, as we're tackling that.
Well, it's also helpful too, if you are in that process of buying, selling, and you have to work with that agent, that you've already started a relationship with them, that
So
you
you
can
can
work with
coordinate.
them back
Yeah,
and
for
forth.
closing, so you can domino it, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, there's a delay because of, like, whatever it may be.
But there's a lot of agents that say, oh, I can't help you. You're going to St. Louis, I don't know anybody, you know, go ahead. But I think they forgot that
To
part.
lean into the network of brokerages that we have. And that's one of the real positives that came out of the partnership that FC Tucker Company has with Howard Hanna.
Correct.
Oh my
Right,
gosh,
is
yeah.
that has expanded that footprint just tremendously. So that all the way along the East Coast, wherever you're going, we have a like, kind-minded broker that we can partner you up with.
That teaches the same
and
culture.
teaches the same
Yeah.
kind of culture,
Yeah.
does things the same way, follows the same, you know, family-oriented brokerage model that we use.
Well, and starting there with the managing broker is, hey, I want an agent like this. Give me your top 3. Just, you know, they need to be very strong. I've got an engineered mind person coming in, and he's gonna need a really detailed, you know, oriented.
I had to deal with this prior to the merger once in Cincinnati, and so I researched and you know, I talked to our reload department and everything, and I was like, who was like us down there? And it was Sipsey Klein, right? It was very, very similar to Howard Tucker and Howard Hanna and FC Tucker, and I had an amazing experience with referring out to Sipsey Klein down there in the Cincinnati area, and because they were similar to us, you know, like it was a kind of a family-owned business that had grown large at the time, and ran their things very custom. And I'm not saying that other brokerages aren't like that. I'm just saying I know for a fact that we are.
But if you hadn't done that, then your client would have, as you put it, thrown a dart at a dartboard at the phone book and made a decision. And instead, we've given them something of value, a referral to somebody we've actually interviewed, we've actually talked to, and we've made that connection. And that really that warms my heart.
Well, and I say the same thing. I mean, anything here, they're looking at 10,000 agents, if we, you know, generalize what LIBOR has, who you could end up with, whether or not you've got the right person for you just within here.
It's tough too, because I mean, you know, how many have not sold a home. Like we were just talking about that a week or two ago. It's like a really crazy number, like 63 or 70% haven't sold a home or whatever. And you may get somebody who is like, obviously I want to help people, but at the same time, like I have to make sure.
Doing only one transaction a year,
Yeah.
and that's your client that you just sent to them. So,
Yeah.
there's wonderful things that come out of having a network of broker owners that we can talk to, and I think that really.
And I think IAR does that stuff. So for you said it made you more aware when you got into the Real Estate Academy of Leadership for the state. And so for me, Shelly really pushed me to do the local one.
Yeah.
And I don't know when I did that, maybe 4 years ago or whatever. And I have no idea what my industry was technically, like all the ins and outs of our industry. And that's just at a local level, let alone a state level. And then you can go national with NAR. Like it's a whole thing, and it's hard because you like run a business and do I have time for this stuff? But it will totally change your entire view and landscape of our industry.
I learned so much about the greater world of organized real estate whenever I got involved at the state level. And now I'm involved a little bit at the national level as well. I'm serving as the chair of data and strategies for NAR for 2025, and really the type of people that I've met and grown to be friends with give me an outlet. So that if I am stumped on something that's a bigger picture real estate question, I've got folks that I can call in Texas and Florida and Illinois, Wisconsin, people that were in the leadership at the same time at various states. I carry those relationships on, and I think it's like continuing ed, right? I mean, a lot of us go, continuing ed, it's not fun to do. Well, yeah, it's not fun to do.
It's by osmosis.
It's important to do it. Yes.
It's not sitting in a classroom, it's by osmosis. Real's unbelievable. I would love to do the state real class. Something I've had on my bucket list, just haven't done it yet. One of the things I can say though, people, if they're listening, just starting at your division level. Just go to Northside, go to Pahamco, go to any of your local divisions.
Get involved.
That is a way of learning as well, just the internet networking when you're there. I get something every time I go to one of those division meetings, so just get involved in your division meetings. You don't have to go to the state level like you're talking about. You don't have to do any of this. Start little, and it'll be a very good.
It'll open your eyes.
It will be very helpful for you. And you meet other agents, like you said. You might just have to pick up the phone and talk to an agent because they sat at the table, and you met them. So just get involved however you can.
And I think the more you're around other agents, it raises and better understand our industry. I think it raises our level of professionalism, which is one of my biggest qualms with our industry as a whole. Is like I think we have a very diverse view of professionalism in this industry, unfortunately. And I'm not saying people don't get served or don't get served, but like what I expect, like this is my full-time job, I work 80 hours a week. Like I take this very seriously, and it's my entire life. And then like you have people who aren't like that, and it's really hard to coach people who don't understand why something is important, first of all, because they don't understand the broader landscape of it. I was really, we just listed a house last weekend, and I was so happy that I've got like feedback on 3 of like 5 showings, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just so outkicked the coverage. It was ridiculous, because I've had some where I've had like 10 showings and no feedback. Yeah, and you're like, what is going on?
I don't know what to do about that. That is something that's just, I can't get them on my listing, and I call and I ask, and they don't even respond to the text or the voicemail.
We should do a thing where you can't book, this is like so not allowed, but with Broker Bay, right? So like you can't book another showing until you've completed a feedback.
You did the form on your last showing that you did. I love that.
It's interesting. These kind of things, like what you're talking about, is how the industry evolves and develops. So, you've said it here, kind of in a joking manner, but really taking that up allows it to be massaged into what policy is, right? We have organizations that are over 100 years old now in Indiana, right? With IAR and MIBOR both. These are long-standing organizations that have a broad history, but the reason that all those rules and things that we have are in place is because of great ideas that came out of an agent who's just a member saying, hey, you know what, would be awesome, this is what we do. Have we ever thought about that? And smart organizations do that, and I think MIBOR falls into that category. So somebody that's willing to grow.
Your background, where you've been on multi-levels, does giving feedback show up anywhere on anybody? Our radar is huge. That's something, our biggest pet peeves.
But
Do they talk
that's
about-
because we list a lot, right? And not everybody lists a lot. Some people are only buyer's agents, like there's
But
a whole
I'm
thing
just
there.
curious
but-
if it's even
There's a
something
bunch of
that's
different
out
models.
there on the radar of anybody saying that,
Part of
because it's important.
raising professionalism is, I've heard it at meetings that I've been going to for the last 20 plus years, right? We want to raise the level of professionalism. We want to raise the level of professionalism, but it's up to the end users to actually do it, right? So that's up to those individual agents. It's up to the broker that says, hey, we want to be the brokerage that sends that feedback back, right? And that comes from leadership on the, from the top down. And so, as the industry evolves, we might look for technology solutions that cause that to be easier, right? Agents tend to follow the path of least resistance all the time, right? They're like dumping out water on the sidewalk. If there's a crack in the sidewalk, water's gonna go down inside that crack, right? And so if we have cracks in our systems, then the agents just tend to, because it's easier, take the path of least resistance.
And it
So
happened
look
with-
to technology to help advance that, make it a little bit better.
COVID made it worse too, because how quickly you had to respond, and as a whole, like you would go look at a house and like
You have to.
it's gone. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? And so I can understand how we got here, but what created that no longer exists, and like we can get out of it now. I guess that's my biggest struggle
We're
with
back
it.
to 60 and 80 days on market for some homes. You know, these agents need to tell the seller. I always say, you have allowed them to come into the home. The seller has said, come into my home, I'm taking the dogs, I'm taking the kids, I'm having dinner at McDonald's once again, and I don't know why my house is not selling. My agent has done everything they can. We need the feedback to know what's going on, and it's just common courtesy if anything, so.
And I'll
anyway.
tell you, if you become the agent who always gives feedback and always gives constructive feedback in that manner, you get a reputation inside the community. And no matter how big a community seems to feel, like I came from Southwest Indiana, we had 900 agents. You guys have got 9,000 agents in Trinity. It still does not take long for your reputation to spread, good or bad. And good, when it spreads for good, then we get into a market like 2022, whenever everybody's battling over all these listings. People aren't afraid to call you back. You might get that deal that some others don't. So
we talk about that a lot because of I do all those things. I call, I communicate, I keep everybody abreast. I get deals done when I'm not the highest offer because people want to work with me because I have a good reputation. It matters.
And they know that you're going to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
They may not know that about the person that doesn't give feedback each time. So that's why I say our reputations really, really matter in this business. And it matters both to our peers as well as to the community. And I think people sometimes forget about your reputation among your peers. That's why it's important to be engaged at the local level. Like you said, come to the micro thing, because you may not have the opportunity yet to have had a cross deal with them, but you can already start laying the groundwork for the fact that this transaction is going to be good because I am plugged in. I am a professional in this industry. I do what is right.
Over the past 60 days, I've had legitimate offers. So, we always get emails where it's like, hey, do they want to do seller financing? Like these weird ones, but legitimate offers that came through, and like I just check my email because I do it probably somewhere between 4 and 6 times a day on my phone, let alone when you're just sitting down working. And like I have offers that got accepted that I never got a phone call on. No text, nothing. I just checked my email.
Never get a phone call on the fact that they sent the offer.
Yeah.
It's like sitting there. We've talked about one you had expired because they gave a short time, but never told you it was even there. Those are all crazy. I do kind of want to talk about something that, I don't know why this made me think of it, but there's a new scam going around that's very interesting, and it's and I'm getting them. I have a new listing that hit, and I've probably had in the past week 10 emails, texts stating that they want to talk to me about my listing. And these are so-called consumers. And they all want to talk to you through Zoom. So I want to make a big warning about this scam.
Oh yeah.
They're coming in and they will take over your phone, take over your computer. So I don't know what you just said just reminded me of this, so I do want to talk about this. But
It's a public service announcement, right? That this is out there, and I've heard it from multiple people.
Yeah, so
That's
they're coming
crazy.
in. I just got one on the way in here. I thought we need to talk about this because I can always tell when it gets to the point where they're just not making any sense. But the second they say they want to do a Zoom with you, 9 times out of 10, and our next PSA is do not forget we have forewarn with MyBor. Take that phone number and put it in, because
See if you get a record.
the one I just got on the way in here, it said deceased. So just know forewarn, FOREWARN, is your way to find out if these numbers are real. And I went back and said, hey, your number's not showing up, what's your name? I mean, just whatever, just no, this is really getting bad.
I wouldn't do a Zoom call anyways. I'd be like, I don't like how I look, so just call me, dude. You know,
Yeah. Well,
not a Zoom call
It's
guy.
above and beyond the WhatsApp situation,
Yeah.
now it's a Zoom.
Yeah.
Well, let me give another little plug for Forewarn. I'm a big fan. So I actually had this at our local association well before it rolled out at MyBor. We've had it for several years, and I remember working whenever I was a manager down in Evansville. I was working with a young agent, very attractive young lady, who had a wonderful headshot, which I'm sure is what brought all of this along. She got a very uncomfortable sounding call asking to go look at a property, and she kind of her radar went up, and she kind of knew there was something else going, so she asked for another guy at the office there to go along with her, and so they rode over to the showing. Great, fantastic way to be safe in this industry. And when they arrived, there were 2 guys that were there to go look at the house, and when they saw the gentleman get out of the car along with her to go to the showing, they both just immediately got in their car and drove off. And that's the kind of use that Forewarn gave her, because she was able to look it up and say, hey, there's some criminal record activity here that came in with the phone call that came through. It was the thing that piqued her radar. So a big plug for Forewarn.
Yeah.
I even volunteered to go down and do some videos with MyBor whenever it was rolling out, because I'm a big fan in that, and it's Realtor Safety Month.
It's so easy, just copy, paste, boom, it's in there, and all this comes down, or nothing comes up. But I did get one a couple of times too, like 17 felonies or something. It's just out of control.
Yeah, but don't overlook at it either, because if you look me up, you'd also see a couple of traffic violations.
Well,
Maybe didn't show up on my
a couple
record.
of
A little
felonies.
speeding.
It was it was more things like that. But yeah, so it's a great thing. So I just wanted, there's some safety things to always keep in mind when you're doing this job too.
Yeah. So numbers. So we're gonna jump into the stats, but I think it's interesting to have you on here for a couple of reasons, because you have a better outlook on state stats.
Yeah.
And then you also just referenced that you're with NAR, you're on the chairperson for the data committee, right? And the data is, first of all, it's dependent on correct input, which is always, there's just gonna be human error, right? But it's also like being able to look at the data and actually dissect what it means. And I think we deal with a lot in the media, a little bit of incorrect information, or not, I don't even say that, poor narratives off of the data, if that makes sense. And so like,
you can make all data sets, if there's big enough, you can make it all show a story that you want to tell, right?
Yeah.
And what I think is important to know whenever looking at data in general, and again, I said I was a recovering engineer, right? So I've still got a little bit of that in me. So whenever I look at data, I'm always looking to try to tell it, what is that data trying to tell me? Right? As opposed to going and looking for the story that I want to find in the data,
Right.
I'm actually looking at the data and saying, what is this trying to tell me today? And Indiana's been exceptional at that. If you go to data.indianarealtors.com, this is one of the proud points of my year as president for IAR. We started rolling this product out. The idea is that we have a data lake that includes MLSs from everywhere in the state. They even scrub out duplicates where one address may be in both MLSs at the exact same time. It looks at that and then gives you an aggregate picture where you can look at the entirety of the state. You can also drill down, so you can always go down to even the township level of looking at that kind of data there. It's available to the public, so for the public that's watching, if you're interested and you're just a data nerd, you can go out there and see a big portion of it. Some of it is behind a paywall, right? So some of the more intricate data visualizations and stuff, you have to be a member, but you can just put in your regular member credentials and be able to log in and see all of the data that's there, and it goes back 10 years plus of additional
trends and
additional
everything.
trends. So you can kind of see how we compare, and you start to look at things that mirror. A lot of what we're seeing this year is what mirrored in 2019.
Yeah.
Right. So right before COVID is about where we are inside of the pendulum. It was already starting to swing in the favor of sellers before COVID. Then after that, it kind of went totally K-wire towards that. But we're now coming back to where that pendulum's starting to swing, and you're going to see it in the numbers that you guys do for your local market here now. That you can see that pendulum's always moving. And you guys do a great job of telling the story that goes with it, rather than just saying, hey, this many houses were listed or this many were sold. What is that telling us? So what is it that we can use that for, to be able to tell our consumers and better inform them and make them make better decisions whenever they're, whenever they're under the gun and having to decide the price on their house or the price they want to offer on the house that they're buying.
Or what it looks like. I mean, I think we're really good about trying to, okay, so it says this, what does the pulse mean of that, right? And like we've done, even when we're wrong, right? Like I can remember coming into this year in February, if you guys remember, spring market started super early. I mean, it was like Saturday of Valentine's Day, right? It was weird. And we were like, man, it is going to be really bad. And we thought it was going to be through the
We thought
winter.
it might get back to 2022 again all of a sudden.
And it was. And then April, third week of April, it just died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was really, really odd. And we were like, hey, this seems like it's pivoted again, right? Or like when rates were pivoting and like all of this stuff, and even like right now we're like, hey, it's kind of down, but like we're starting to pivot back again,
If you look at the trends for like pending contracts, that's my favorite one to look at, because I think it gives you a really good snapshot of what's happening.
It's what's happening right
But
now.
you can find and look in there and see every major holiday.
Yeah.
Right? Because people don't go out and buy Thanksgiving Day, right? Not real often. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. They happen, but not at the same volume. So you can see these little dips that occur all the way throughout the year. But I think most interestingly is you can also see, particularly for central Indiana and to the north, you can see every time that a snowstorm comes through, right? So to exactly, Kyle, what you were saying, hey, it all picked up what I felt to be earlier in February. And I've always said, what I would tell my clients is, I want to be your Valentine's, because that's when the real spring market begins.
It does.
It's like this. But it happens even more exaggerated when we've had a rougher winter. Whenever there's been times where we've all been cooped up inside of our house, when that kind of stuff happens, we see it reflected in the data, particularly in pending contracts.
And it was
written.
70s that week. I remember it was warm.
Exactly
It was
right.
very
Everybody
nice.
wants to get out.
Yeah,
because they got a
it's
couple
pretty out.
snowstorms.
Let's go. Well, I was gonna say too, with the stats being for like a 2019 market, that is 6 years ago, and the amount of agents that were here in 2019 is very low compared to the percentage that's out there
I
currently.
wonder what that is.
We have an
And-
industry churn, and I think it's about 6 years on average whenever you talk about overall experience, but they really have to make it through that first 2 years before we feel comfortable that they're going to be in the industry.
Right. Like I think it's 90. I mean, it's kind of made up, I think, but I've always heard like 87-90% failure rate first 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was just saying, so in 2019, if I look back, because I started in 2008, that would be a time when we were going back 12 months. If we were looking at stats, we were going back 12 months to look at our data for what we were looking for, what we should price the house at.
Now it'd be dangerous to look back that far.
And that's what I'm saying, so I don't know anybody who would go back 12 months. And barely we're talking about going back 6 months now. We're saying maybe 3 months is as far back as you want to go to get your numbers, right? So that's the thing I think has changed, and I think it should stay that way, but it was never even thought of to go back 3 months. There wasn't enough data to get it, but to go back 6 months, I don't know that we even should be doing that, because this is what we're seeing constantly. This market's just continually having a swing.
I can tell you, I have one right now that is like that, and I interviewed for this last week of July, right? And then like, oh no, we're getting it, not getting it, doesn't really matter. And then like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, right? Like,
We're ready.
We're ready, right? And like it was a situation where I had to still use that pricing, and I would price it differently today. Like I just would, because like in July we're like, well, it's been tough, but like it's gonna get better. But like since then, in 60 days, because we were starting to go back to school and everything else, people just started dropping prices like nobody's business, and I was just like, and I'm like stuck on a
You know
price.
what 60 days means, right? 60 days from now is Christmas.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is wild.
So if you had somebody else that you were talking to about pricing now, pricing in October, mid-October is way different than pricing in mid-December, right?
Yep.
Not substantially different, but our approach, our plan
It's a
towards
different
marketing is a different beast at that point. But transactions still happen. So to put a quash on, that idea that nothing happens after Thanksgiving Day until spring, that's just a flat fallacy.
Fourth quarter is
Right?
historically our best quarter.
Well, and
Ironically.
I've always said relocation happens in December.
Yeah.
Everybody, if they're moving here, they're starting after Christmas to come and look and see where they're gonna live.
And year round, people get married, have children, unfortunately pass away,
Life happens.
have divorce. Those things happen regardless. So the only thing that I see that happens traditionally during times of busy seasons like the holiday season between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right, is that what happens is there's this pent up demand because all of those activities in life are still happening regardless. So as soon as they pop back out the other side of it, things happen throughout that time. But as soon as we get beyond Christmas, there is energy that happens even during the dead of winter. That's why you can still see the dip in transactions when snowstorms push through in late January.
Well, you do know that if you're working with somebody in November and December, they're serious.
They are
They're
serious,
not
and they are
trying to
buyers.
make as much.
Yes,
Yeah,
Not
they're-
at all.
They're ready to go and they need to do it, so.
That's why I bought a truck, is so I could show houses better in snow.
So,
Because
why I
I
have 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, so I've literally gotten deals during snowstorms because they're like, nobody else is gonna go look, let's go look. I was like, I will pick you up. I
We had a
four-wheel drive.
Jeep, Skip had a Jeep, and I was down in Brown County to show a property. And clients were in my car. I don't normally take clients in my car too often, but they happened to be in my car. And we got to the house, and again, Brown County, and there was literally a stream, not a stream, it was big enough that,
I remember you put, it was like the culvert
Oh, I
had
took pictures. but you had to cross
Overflowed.
a river
Ditch, a big ditch.
to get to the house. It was not in my board notes. There was nothing there to do that. And I'm like, let's go. And I put in 4-wheel drive, and it was probably a 2-foot deep. I mean, I thought I was
This
little.
sounds so fun.
It was
I know.
great. And I went up the hill, had to climb a hill, and got to the house. And I'm like, this is just crazy, but I had the car for it. Nobody, I don't even know who could sell it if they didn't have my Jeep. But my clients didn't buy it, but it was just the funniest thing to just some of the places we have to go.
What we will do for our clients and customers
It was
all
fun.
the time is
It
really
was
great,
fun.
and it's what brings energy to this job,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, if everything was the exact same every day, then I'd be worried about AI taking my job. But I'm not.
So different.
And it's
Oh,
because
yeah.
in 20 plus years of representing buyers and sellers, I had a client once ask me, they're like, well, what happens like this in a typical transaction? And I go, I don't know.
What's
I've been
that?
here for 20 years. What's a typical transaction? I've never had two that are the same.
So talk about that. You are going to do Thursday. Tell us
Yeah.
about the event on
Yeah,
Thursday.
so
Everybody can
event on
celebrate you.
Thursday, we still have signups that are available, I believe. We're gonna do down in Brown County, now that you've brought it up. We have a meeting of the Council of Residential Specialists, so CRS is doing an event that is specifically set for residential agents to help up your game. It's kind of done TED Talk style, where it's short 10 to 15 minute segments. Be a great opportunity to be able to come in and plug in. I'm doing a panel on AI and how to write a great prompt to get the output that you want. So excited to be doing that, in addition to going down and seeing all my realtor friends that'll be together on that day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
It'll
going.
be awesome. Raquel, you now have to post this tomorrow though instead. We usually post it out there. I saw you say
I know, I was gonna say something different, but I
just put extra work on her
I'm so
plate.
sorry.
Oh, it's all right. No, I mean, hey, she's had it too
He
good
said
for
he
too
was-
long.
He
I'm
was
excited
speaking
about it.
about doing AI, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're teaching that,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to that.
We'll get it out. We'll put notes out about it. So let's go into the stats real quick. So, and I do want to hear like what you see at a state level or anything like that. You want to chime in? For me, we did have fall break, and we knew that coming in. The past 2 weeks, we kind of I felt a trend like in showings and all this other stuff. But I wanted to see if it would carry through fall break, which I still don't know if it will carry through, right? Because I'm still dealing like my kids just now are going back to school this week, right? And so everybody kind of has a little bit different fall break within this 2-3 week window. Fishers, I had 19 go on the market, 16 are still there. So I only had 3 new listings pinned in Fishers, but 31 actually pinned. So when you're talking about the pinned, and it's a better snapshot, 3 sold in a week. everything, but 31 actually sold, right? And so
So you took away a lot of
I lost a
inventory.
ton of inventory.
But there weren't those new listings to come in and help support it on the backside.
Correct.
And that's where it puts us behind, and that's where you really notice the impact of fall break.
Correct. But we've been trending that way for about 4 weeks, right? Where it started being like equal. Like first we were getting a surplus of inventory, and it's kind of been sneaking back. And so this one, I mean, it took a bunch though. Now, like it'll be a little bit disproportionate, but I have 273 on the market, and Fisher's from anywhere from 235 to 900 is what went on the market actually. And then average days on market is 42, median's 36. And in Noblesville, 33 went on the market, only 4 pended, and so 29 are still active, but 24 actually pended, right? And so average days on market there is 29, and the median is 20. But I was looking at something that my team member Jacob had sent me, and it just showed the state, and the state was 47 days, but they also, in that stat, they did annotate that they had removed any house that had been on the market over a year, because there's probably an outlier there with condition or price or whatever, which I actually thought was a pretty smart idea. And they were at 47, because when I first saw it, I was like, that seems a little
On the high side.
Yeah, a little on the 27, not 47.
Yeah,
I apologize.
there we
27,
go.
not 47. And I actually thought 27 was a little on the low side because they had removed it, right? So yeah, it wasn't 47. It's 27 is what the state average was if you remove anything over
That
a
seems
year.
really low.
That's what I thought. I was like, that seems really low.
I will tell you though, there is a whole lot of variance depending on where you're at. So there's some really cool heat maps that are actually on that data.indianarealtors.com. So I encourage you to go over and look at it. A couple of them are heat maps, and they'll show you based on the population, like which areas and markets of the state are hotter. And if we look at long-term trends, let's look at things like growth of economics, right?
Mhm.
Kokomo is a great example.
Oh my gosh.
Kokomo has so many new jobs coming into the pipeline
From
over
the
the next couple of
lithium.
years from the battery plant,
Yeah.
that they really are behind. So if you talk about things that you're looking at on a week-to-week basis, then you look at the macro scale at the state, you can see that pockets of the state grow and are moving faster. Southeast Indiana is a great example too. There's not enough housing in the area around Louisville that we're getting and we've got a better tax climate, we've got some better things. So you see a lot of people that are working inLouisville that are buying on the opposite side of the river. So our Indiana side is showing great growth
In Clarksville,
in total
that area.
populations. Clarksville, Fullwood, Knob, all those areas down in there.
There's
are-
3 areas I think up here that are like that, that I speak on, and it's Kokomo,
Yep.
Lebanon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You drive anywhere from Indianapolis to Lafayette, and they're almost connected cities
Correct.
at this point.
And Anderson.
Anderson's
Because
got a great potential.
Fishers and Carmel and now Pendleton has seen so much growth. There's nowhere else to go but Anderson, and you can still buy affordably.
Yeah.
And as that goes in, infrastructure will improve, all these other things. And so like, I think Anderson is one of those like heat maps over the next 10 years, because
Absolutely.
Indy will just grow too much.
Well, it's the suburbs are getting farther and
They're
farther
suburbs
out.
of the suburbs.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
What do you got?
Carmel, 41 hit the market, only 10 of those pended, but a total of 31 pended, so like you said, it was Carmel's fall break, and that was pretty good. 27 average days on market and a 23 median for the pended, so all of my stats showed that days on market are going down. The solds in Carmel, there was 110 in the past 30 days, and average days on market was 26 and 12, so it's kind of staying the same. Currently active in Carmel, there's 212. Those average days on market are just under 3 months, 81, a median 41. So as we said, price it right, you're gonna be gone in about a month. If you don't, you're gonna be there for about 3 months. So pricing is very important. Westfield 28 hit the market, 10 of those pended, but a total of 31 total pended. So that was when they lost inventory there. 40 was average days on market, median 28. 130 are currently sold in the past 30 days, 34 median, 34 average, 14 median. So staying at around like 1 month, and 279 are currently active with 80, so about 2.5 months again. So be careful with your pricing.
I love what you do whenever you give the average and the median, because that in
Matters.
itself really, really matters. It means that some of those are moving really fast still, or if they don't move real fast, they're sitting on the market for a little bit longer.
Right, and this what we keep saying is, I keep saying, there's 2 markets. There's the houses that sell and the markets that sit.
Mhm.
And so if you're looking at the average days on market of the active homes right now, in Westfield or Carmel, we're getting close to 3 months. But then we're looking at the past 7 days, it's just 1 month, and the past 30 days, it's just 1 month. But there's still those houses that sit and sit and sit. So you have to price it correctly. Zionsville, 9 hit the market, 4 of those pended, but a total of 8 pended. Average days on market 26 and a median of 9. There's 39 that sold in the past 30 days with the average days of 58 and a median of 21. So Zionsville sped up quite a bit the past 7 days. And there's 84 currently active with 86 as the average days on market and 48 median. So they're at about 3 months too with all the active inventory. So all active inventories in Carmel, Westfield, and Zionsville are at 3 months, and the pending ones are at 1 month. So just there's a reason for why some sit and why some don't, and I think condition and pricing is very important.
It does, and I think with interest rates, coming down, I think that matters. I saw something yesterday that said like it'll be 6 to 6.5 for years. I don't think that's true. I would love for us to see like 5.9 come like
just under 6, and the builders have figured this out.
Right, and just stay there forever, be fine actually, because like psychologically that 5, even if it's 5.99.
It's just like listing a price psychologically. 549 is better than 550. Anything we can get a lower number in there, just.
But you're right, builders are doing things to get it down.
And if you watch builders over the last couple of years, the way they've moved inventory is that they've bought that rate down for a lot of folks whenever it was higher. And the magic number, if you watched what they were doing their rate buy down for, almost every time it was at 6 or just below 6.
Yeah, because it's digestible mentally.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's not.
And it's not too much of a burden on the homeowner.
They just put it in the price. The buyer.
They do.
But then if they're in the 5s, they put it at 4.9. They just take
But
it
if
down.
you're there
just
long
enough.
term, then you
won't
came out of
matter.
the bonus anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all really interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. There's just so much that goes on with this stuff. So yes, our micro market matters, but also things that happen to us at a macro level, globally and nationally, and all these other things, they impact it. And our goal is never to we like to throw out our predictions and stuff like that and our opinions, but at the end of the day, all I can really do is give you the information, tell you what it kind of implies. I tell you this, if it's new to market, put your best foot forward, and if it isn't, like, you've got wiggle room, have a good agent who knows what they're doing. And I'm not telling you like somebody's going to give it away, but like you've got a little bit of leverage to get a little bit of stuff done if you want, and honestly the seller probably knows that these days and is,
if they've been prepped correctly.
correct.
Yeah.
Right. And so they know that that's going to happen, so I don't know, I think if you can absorb it financially, it's a good market. The problem is usually a good market is when people can't absorb things financially, right? That's the problem. So, because when people are cash rich, people are out there buying, so the market gets tough, right? So, I don't know. Thank you for coming on. Most importantly, congratulations.
Yes,
I'm super excited for your role.
For us.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here today. I really, really appreciate it. We had a little scheduling problem earlier, but it was right before I was able to announce the new role, so I was kind of happy that we were able to plug it and share it now. So thank you guys so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it.
Cool. We usually give out numbers, but I don't know if you want to give out your number or not.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to get a hold of you.
If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at Andy@AndyRudolph.com and 812-449-8444. Please call.
Andy at Andy Rudolph.
Andy@AndyRudolph.com.
That's my email, Shelly at Shelly Walters. Not my email, but
And
that's
you know
how.
what?
Yeah.
A little insider trick here. If you're looking for a great closing gift for somebody who's just about to have a baby, you go out on the internet and you purchase thechildsname.com and you gift it to them. I've been doing this for the last several years and it's a fantastic idea. So if you have a client who's looking to do something, you buy the domain for their child's name and you give it to them as a gift at the closing. It'd be a fantastic closing.
That is
gift.
so fun.
That's a really good idea.
Very unique.
So.
Very unique.
I don't know what you
tidbit here
do
at
with
the end.
it, but
I have no idea. We
It's so
posted
cool.
baby blog on ours whenever we did it for the boys because I own both my kids' names.
That's so
cool.
fun.
That's cool.
Well, I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group, and my cell phone's 317-201-2601.
And I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker, and my number is 317-649-5122.